Welcome back to Mark Ellis Reviews. Remember to subscribe, you'll never miss an episode that way. As a freelancer, I work with other freelancers, and I have one in particular, a chap called Mark Ferguson, who runs a successful PR firm. A little while ago I said to him, look, do you mind spending some time each month coming on the channel and talking about various productivity related stuff and his life as a freelancer, how he gets things done, his experiences working from home, all that kind of thing. And yeah, this is the first episode where we talk about the challenges of working from home and what we've both done to become productive. We've learned a lot over the years, and I think you'll find it fascinating, the things that both Mark and I do to be more productive, to get stuff done, to get away from all the distractions that happen at home. Yeah, watch it, I think you'll enjoy it. We're both called Mark, which makes things not that interesting actually, but anyway, watch it, I think you'll enjoy it. Give me a typical Mark Ferguson day.
Okay, all right, so my typical day, I will start out with getting up and doing some chores, like emptying the dishwasher, feeding the pets, and then I'll do some exercise. I'll go out for a run with the dog, or I'll do one of these Joe Wicks HIIT sessions or something like that. And the whole idea behind that is that it tries to wake me up and I don't feel too terrible then about sitting down behind a desk and at a computer for the majority of the day. And then getting into the work side of things, a lot of it is dictated by my diary and lists. I don't know whether you have the same. Do you kind of like find yourself being organized by Outlook, that kind of thing?
Yeah, I have to be. I think I organise myself with a traditional sort of to-do list, but then my diary, and then my email inbox. And without if one of those three things disappeared or fell apart, I'd get nothing done. That's my problem. I've got such a terrible memory. I have to live by those things. Is that how you find it? Do you have to follow that kind of that structure?
I do. I mean, it's particularly with all the deadlines that I have to deal with. So I know that I've got a couple of reports that I'm editing at the moment, and a couple of PR magazine features that I've got to get done before the end of this month. So this week is particularly hellish, but you're absolutely right. If I have that on my diary with exclamation marks. Oh, and I use color coding as well. Do you use that for different things?
Not really, no. I don't tend to get too detailed.
Yeah, that means my memory is much worse than you see. So I have, if something's gone completely wrong or not happened, that's red basically. If something's ongoing, it's orange. And if I've done really well and something's completed, it's green. But just when I'm looking at the mishmash of stuff on the calendar, that tends to help me out a little bit at a glance, because I'm quite visual like that, and it shows me where I'm going and what's happening.
Yeah.
And then in terms of those lists and where I actually go with those, the kind of the various activities that come within that, I also have to try and remind myself about doing my own marketing and PR, because it's very easy to forget that I'm busily working away for everybody else. But if I don't update my own social media or contact people that I want to contact, or try and do I've got like an intern joining MoreFire at the moment, so we're busily doing a story about her coming on board.
Yeah.
So it's all kind of promotion and publicity. The other bit that I always forget about if I don't put it in the diary and really remind myself is the accounting and finances.
Okay.
Because I really hate that bit. I know it's really important, but it's the bit that least excites me about running the business. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's those things, isn't it? It's those horrible little things. I'm the same. I hate numbers. I hate dealing with invoices and credit notes and all that stuff. It just bores me to tears. But do you find that you have to? It's particularly those things that you have to schedule in.
I do, because if I don't kind of guilt myself over the whole thing, and you'll see if it's moved from one day to another. I will potentially, not really forget it, but it's like, do you ever have that thing where it's something uncomfortable, so you kind of park it?
Yep.
And you keep moving, you concentrate on the more fun stuff, which for me is the writing and the creative aspect.
Yeah. And
I don't know, with yourself, maybe it's kind of the podcasting and the video work and all the other creative stuff that we do. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I mean, I had to do that. I think my last video was about this. It was about time blocking. So I'd never have any time, in my mind anyway, never have any time to do this kind of thing without blocking out a specific amount of time every day to do it. So I think I spoke about having like this hour at the start of every day. So I get up quite early. I still don't know how I do that, but I get up quite early, do a little bit of normal work, and then spend an hour between 8 and 9 planning videos or recording things and doing this kind of stuff. But that's only happening because I'm putting it in the diary. And it's one of those things where if it's a passion project or something where you're not directly getting paid for it because it's something, a new brand you're building or something, you have to find the time and the energy to put into it, because it's much easier just to, a bit like the invoicing, it's much easier to instead, do some client work and get paid for it than do something which doesn't feel like you're getting any kind of recompense for it, isn't it? Do you find that?
Yeah, absolutely. And I'd like to pretend that I'm absolutely perfect at all of this as well, and that I block my diary out really effectively and I follow it like by half hour, and at the end of the day, everything is ticked off. But if I'm honest, things don't always work out that way because, distractions happen, and particularly on that creative element, sometimes I'll find that I've been sitting there for half an hour just thinking how to phrase something or put it into a particular format, or I might be chasing journalists down, or again, you can control that little environment of everything that you're working on, but you end up waiting for people to come back to you and responses that sometimes don't immediately happen. So hopefully, again, that's not just me bearing my soul and doing it all wrong, that it happens to other people out in the world as well.
You mentioned exercise earlier. How important is exercise in your daily routine?
It's massively important because I've always been into my fitness and sports, and something, really when I was working back in office environments, probably about a decade ago now, it would be very, very easy of me to say, oh, well, I'll just eat at my desk and work through, and then before you know it, suddenly you realize it's 7 o'clock in the evening and you haven't really stood up or done anything. So it's really important, I think, to get up and get moving and have a lunch break as well. Because just for your own mind, for your own physical and mental health, and very, very much so at the present time with lockdown and social distancing and all the other weirdness that we've been experiencing, I don't think it really matters what you do, whether you go for a run, you go for a walk. If you've got a gym and weights and stuff, that's fantastic. If you haven't, as I mentioned earlier, look up that Joe Wicks guy on YouTube. He does really, really good stuff. And he kind of you can cater for all different levels of fitness and everything. But yeah, the long and short of it is that I go a little bit stir crazy if I don't run around and get moving. And because a lot of it is sitting down. I think you're into your exercise as well, aren't you?
Yeah, I am. Yeah, it's become something now which I just do. I think previously, I used to play a lot of football, and when I retired from football, I wasn't professional, obviously, but when I stopped playing football, I had to do something else. And because I enjoyed playing sport, I don't really enjoy running, if I'm honest, but it's the thing that I've replaced the football with. So yeah, for me, the same sort of thing. Although for me, it's normally the gym that I go to, and it's time out the day which has become just a habit now. So again, it's not, I'm not getting paid for going to the gym. You don't get paid for going for a run, but we both recognise that it's vitally important for up here, isn't it? And I always find if I start the day like I started today, really kind of tired from the weekend, and I know after this I'll go for a run. I know I'll feel much more sort of rejuvenated and ready to crack on. Whereas if I didn't do that, and the days that I don't do any exercise, I really feel it. I get to about 3 o'clock and I'm just dead on my feet, basically. Do you find that?
Yeah, absolutely. And our minds can trick ourselves into thinking that we will be more productive if we just sit there and we don't eat and we don't get up and move around and we just carry on typing or doing whatever it is that you do in a working day. But I think that it's actually completely the opposite. I think it can be very counterproductive. It doesn't take an awful lot of effort. As my old karate instructor used to say to me, when you think about how long of an evening you might sit down and watch TV or do whatever, suddenly you realize that half the day, half the evening or whatever might be gone. And it's just as easy for you to have got up and, given yourself a bit of a hard workout, done that exercise, stretch your legs, whatever it is that you want to do. But yeah, it's crucial, I think. And for me, this is going back to this kind of topic of how we organise and manage our time. A big bit that I've got kind of in my list of to-dos is to try and actually kind of like have a bit of me time
Yep.
and to try and be kind to yourself, because
Yep.
I suspect that many of us have this little negative voice that's constantly telling us that we haven't blocked out our timetable efficiently or done everything that we should in the way that we want to, or that we're not achieving the client lists that we ideally deserve. And part of the exercise and having some time for yourself, reading, catching up with friends, all that kind of stuff, is actually a crucial part, I think, of your, well, not just your working day, but you know what I mean, your overall 24-hour time period.
Yeah, that personal time is so important, isn't it? I know myself, and I know other people that have kind of got into that dangerous habit of working constantly. I still occasionally work in the evenings if I need to, and occasionally at the weekend. But compared to what I was doing probably 2 or 3 years ago, it's nothing like that at all these days. And oddly enough, I get more done. I think a lot of that is down to the exercise, like I say, keeping active. But a lot of it is down to just being happier probably, and making sure like you say, we do those things with the people that matter more than business. Really, I think that's really important.
Yeah, that
Yeah,
that happiness element that you mentioned is so crucial to getting you through the day, and that's why another part of that me time is keeping in touch with your family, catching up with friends. These days, it tends to be more through Zoom and Skype than anything else, doesn't it? But
yeah,
yeah, all of these are crucial, I think, about feeding into making you a successful worker. And again, I don't know about you, Mark, but when I used to be back in that open plan, kind of like more officey environment, so much time would get wasted just by like chatting with people over coffee
yeah,
in the morning about what they'd done and where
yeah,
they'd been and who they'd seen and everything else, which is, again, it's really nice. But if you manage that time a little bit more effectively,
yeah.
you can actually get on with that blocked out work that you're talking about earlier.
So thinking about the people that have kind of been forced into working from home for various reasons, which we won't mention or go into, we all know what we're talking about. I know a few people that are now working from home that weren't before, and they're a little bit almost scared of it, or they feel very vulnerable, and they're concerned about being distracted by the TV or whatever it might be, or the kids or whatever. What advice would you give to someone about how important the daily routine is, and how to establish a daily routine like you and I have? What would be your main advice to someone who's not used to working from home?
I think going back to what I mentioned a moment ago is don't be too hard on yourself. If you probably what I'm guilty of, even after all these years of doing what I do, is that I make too many things to do on my list. And so if you end up with 20 things to do in a day, you're probably way off target, because if you're anything like me and you're kind of like hopefully doing the work well and focusing on things, there'll probably be two, maybe three core things that you want to achieve in a day that you'll get through. Don't get me wrong, there'll be lots of other bits and pieces like, making the tea and sweeping up or doing whatever it is that you need to do around the house. And there's always time for those bits and pieces. But maybe if you've got some core work achievements that have to be completed, as I say, if you get through those two or three things, I tend to think you're doing quite well. So my real point would be is that don't beat yourself up too much about trying to gallop through all of this work that often is impossible to achieve. For some people, I imagine it can be quite tough because they'll have bosses and tough taskmasters who do think that they should be getting through 20 things in a day. But hopefully we are all in the same situation now, which makes it kind of interesting. And hopefully those people will start to realize that not everything can be done at lightning speed. Well, it can be, but often the results will be a bit poor. I don't know. Am I the only person who thinks that way, Mark, or is
No.
that something that works for you as well?
Totally, yeah. I think the other thing I'd recommend is not only, but working when you feel most productive. I think people that have come out of working at a normal office environment, 9 to 5, 9 to 5:30, whatever it might be, tend to stick to that, and sometimes they have to. I get that. You know, if you've got no choice but to work those hours because of clients or because of a boss, etc. But if there's a bit of flexibility there, I really recommend. Like I mentioned earlier, I start work at about 6:30 in the morning, and if you told me 10 years ago I'd be doing that now, I'd never believe you because I'm terrible in the morning. But I have worked out that I can get stuff done, weirdly enough, and for me that works. And it means sometimes I can finish a little bit earlier. But you know, if for example, you know, you work better from 9:30 or 10 o'clock in the afternoon, and you don't mind working through to 6 or 7 in the evening, as long as you've still got that time to do other stuff and keep active, etc. It makes so much more sense than trying to get things done when you're not feeling it at all. You know, I think I don't know about you, but a lot of my friends that I've spoken to, they're starting to realise that, and they're starting to work when they feel like they can work. And as long as you're disciplined, I think that works really well. But it's quite a change in mindset for a lot of people, and certainly a change in mindset for a lot of businesses, which, as we both know, having worked for companies in the distant past, it's not as easy as that when you have a boss who expects you to work a certain number of hours in a defined period. But that would be my one tip, really, just to be more flexible with your work.
We fixed it then. We've sorted everyone out.
Yeah,
all your schedules are done, and everyone's okay, aren't they?
I don't know what people are moaning about. It's just easy, isn't it, working from home? It's only taken us like 5-10 years to get to this stage, but awesome. I love chatting to Mark. I hope you enjoyed being a fly on the wall. We talked quite a bit there about time management and something called time blocking. I put a video together about time blocking, and if you've either A, never heard of it, or B, heard of it but been put off by how complicated it seems, I think you'll find that video fascinating. And that's because I've worked out a way to time block easily, and it's made a massive difference to my day. Keep watching for a link to that video. I think you'll find it fascinating. Until next time, see you later.